Well, hello, people. How are you this evening? Good, I hope. Let's see. Yep, it's showing up on the screen, so I must be live. Having some wiki problems right there, and it went on and on and on. The spiral just kept spiraling and spinning and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just taking it on a grain of salt that I'm live, but it picked up, started going. So anyway. Welcome to the Minutes with Milo show, the Corona edition, the COVID edition, COVID-19 edition, whatever you want to call it. I'm here, you're here, and thank you very much for watching. So let me turn this, let me pick a different candle light. Let's pick some candle light tonight. All right, so Minutes with Milo show, it's live currently. If you're not watching it live currently, then you must be watching it on YouTube and or watching on a podcast, because eventually it'll be on a podcast. And so I'd like to thank you. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. If you're not a commenter, please comment. If you're not a live watcher, tune in Mondays and Thursdays at 9. Watch it live. And if you turn on the little notification ring-a-dingy bell, then when I post a comment with the show title and the fact it's going to be starting, you'll get a bell. You'll get a notification. And I used to, and I'd like to try to get it going again, but who knows. I would have an idea or decide what I was going to do on the show like at 4 or 5 o'clock, maybe even earlier. And I'd put it out. And so, you'd have, 3, 4, 5 hours notice of what the show was going to be, and you could make your arrangements to watch it if it interested you. Now, if it's 8 o'clock, by the time I figure out what I'm going to do, it's a little short notice. But I still let you know. So, tonight's show is going to be about the coronavirus, the COVID-19 virus, the thing that I currently have tested positive for. Have you had it? I don't know. You ought to leave me a comment and tell me what your experiences are. But so far, my household, me and my wife have had it 2 times each. So, and it's been very different for her and for me on each occasion. Why is that? I don't know. But it seems like if I have it bad, she has it lightly. And if she has it lightly, I have it bad. So, is karma involved with this at all? Probably. Probably is. Speaking of karma, I like to listen to podcasts. I listened to a podcast today. Well, actually, hey, Clell, what's up? How are you feeling this evening? Good, I hope. I mean, I'm not feeling too bad. I'll explain in a minute. But in case you missed it, the title of the show is the COVID-19 show. He's feeling fine, fine as wine. Must be old, aged like a fine wine. So, it wasn't a podcast I was listening to today. Just got back from Florida. Why in the hell did you leave? I mean, you was down there, you might as well said, well, you know what? I'm just going to stay. Was it nice? That daggone boss man, if he ever comes back on the show, he goes to Florida all the time. I mean, he went down there for like 4 or 5 days a couple of weeks ago, just cause. His wife was out of town. Funny thing is, she was in Florida. Did he stay where she was? No. He went somewhere else. It was windy. Yeah. Well, that's good. You could fly a kite. I like those kites with the 2 strings, like that, so you can make them dip and move. I like flying those things. Those things are fun. But yeah, she goes down there for some training, and he says, I'm going to go down there too. But they stayed like across the damn state from each other. And he didn't really do anything spectacular. Went out to the beach and hung out and the most spectacular thing he did, I think, was not come to work. That was probably the best thing for him. But the kites I've never saw, and a beach would be a good place. Was like I think Japanese, maybe Japanese have these really long kites, and either they're multiple boxes or multiple kites on. How would you do that? On different strings, and they're stacked up like that. I think that would be kind of fun. You could probably fly those at the beach, but I can't imagine. If you had just let's say you had 7 kites all stacked up on strings. How much? What kind of string would you have to have? I mean, you'd almost have like a rope to hold 7 kites with, because of the wind, the force, the pull against them. But I digress. You got me sidetracked. COVID. This time around, it's kind of interesting. Most all the times that I get sick with almost anything, I get a fever. That's the way I know I'm sick. Well, everybody feels bad. Everybody feels run down. Everybody has those moments where there's like, man, I just don't feel like it. I just don't feel fine. I just don't feel right. But you soldier on. You go on. You do what you need to do. And it's always been like, well, I don't have a fever. Your mom would put her hand back up on there. What do you? No, you don't have a fever. Get out of the house. Go on, do something. So, you know, fever's always been one of the key ingredients to it's like, man, I need to stay home because I feel bad. So, no fever, not really. I think I took my temperature one time, and the temperature was like 97 and a half. There's another thing. I got all kinds of things. Wasn't the body temperature 98.5, 98.6? Was that just a radio station I always listened to? I thought the daggone human body temperature was like in the 98s all my life. I'd have to get the under the tongue thermometer because it had like a little red stripe on it, a little stripe, so that when you looked at it, you could see whether or not it was normal. Now with these non-contact, you hold your forehead, it's like, oh well, 98 used to be the deal. Now it's 96. Is it? I guess because every time I've taken my temperature before this, because like I said, you kind of feel bad. It's like, I feel okay. Let me see what my temperature is. 96.6, 96.6, 96.7, 95, or 96.5. It's like, whatever happened to 98 point whatever? Am I right, Cleo? Wasn't it used to be like 98 something? Was the normal temperature? So, my wife, like as usual, got it first. And the funny thing is, well, just go back, way back, time machine thing. Yeah, yep, saw those. Yes. So it used to be in the 98s. I don't know why they've come down 2 degrees. That's a lot. That's a lot. Got to stay hydrated. Uh, way back machine. So it's funny. Back when the coronavirus was, first introduced to the United States, and all hell broke loose, never got it. Never stopped working. Never got it. Then one day she lost her sense of smell and taste. Sure enough, this was, of course, after they had the home test. And she tested. No, I'm sorry. This wasn't the home test. This is this is when you're sick and you have to drive yourself to the pharmacy to have a test. That's okay. You didn't want to get in the car with anybody else because if you had the damn thing, you didn't want to give it to somebody, right? somebody I know, Craig, he always points out, you don't see him much anymore, but you still do. You still do. You still see people driving in the car, and there'll be somebody beside them, and either that person will have a mask on or the person driving will have a mask on. And every once in a while, you'll see that person, one person driving, and have the mask on all by themselves. Anyway, that's not as common as it used to be. But if you thought as a passenger that you were sick, and you had to have somebody drive you because you didn't feel like you could drive, then, you should, I don't know, wear a mask, whatever. What the hell? Who cares? But back when you had to go to the pharmacy and you made an appointment, dude, you made an appointment. Sitting out in the drive-through pharmacy, swabbing your nose, stick it in that thing, break it off, send it in there, and then you'd have to have an account, whatever, and you get home that day or the next day or 3 days later, whatever it was, they would give you the results. So anyway, she got it, come back positive. Well, they made me stay home too. I told my boss, yeah, well, she's got it. So he goes, well, you need to stay home too. Fine. I never got it. We're in the same house. She worked from home. She was working from home. I never got it. Never got it. Didn't get it. Went for I don't know how long. I don't, keep these things down. Didn't get it. Didn't get it. Then I can kind of remember. It was this time of the year, and I remember that. And the only reason I remember that is because, yeah, you missed the front of it. I've got it now. So that's where I didn't go to work. I tested Saturday. Tested positive. So it was about this time of the year, and the only reason I can tell you this is because I know what I was doing. I know I started feeling kind of bad, but in my defense, not as long as I can remember. But since I kind of been paying attention, oh, it ain't. That's what I'm trying to get to. It ain't this bad. It ain't that bad. The first time I had it, last time I had it, I've only had it twice. Wife's had it twice. I've had it twice, twice. This time of the year, when you go from summer to fall, I always, when I started like this, not since I was little, but anyway, you know what I mean, started paying attention to it. I always had sinus issues. The change of the seasons, a lot of people do. Hay fever, springtime, sinuses, fall, winter. You're changing from summer to fall. The temperature drops. You're not used to it. Messes with your sinuses. I've always had that. Seems like. And so the first time I got it, it's been a year or so ago. It was about this time. It was in August, and I was helping my girls move. And as I was driving to Knoxville, coming back, and my back of my sinuses felt kind of raw. If you've ever experienced that or not, it's like, oh man, it feels kind of raw back there. But that's not unusual, like I said. Time of the year, sinuses, and all that stuff. Well, that was like on a Thursday. Friday comes around. I'm feeling, same kind of deal. It's getting a little bit better. Sunday, I was testing because, I was like, oh my gosh, do I have it? Oh my gosh, do I have it? Negative, negative, negative. Woke up Sunday morning, actually went to breakfast. Now, we had breakfast, picked it up at a fast food place, and went to a park, sitting at a picnic table. Some friends were in from Florida. Dude's a doctor. And I said, called him. This is the way I'm feeling. I said, I've tested. I'm negative. But what do you want to do? They said, come on. It's probably just the allergies. Change of the season. Same deal. All through Sunday, I was fine. Come Sunday evening, boom, my fever hit. Spiked, tested positive. So we were outside. The couple I was with, they didn't catch it. No, my wife, same house. We did the thing. We stayed in separate rooms. We, washed everything down. We took all these precautions. She didn't get it. Nope. But I had a fever. My fever jumped to like 101 something. I felt like poop. If you've ever had the flu, I would have swore if Corona wasn't a thing, nothing. If we never had Corona and I felt like that, I'd say, "Dang on, if I don't have the flu," because I was run down. My fever was spiking. I didn't feel like doing anything, and I swear I'd had the flu. Now it's been a long time, since probably mid '80s, since I've had the flu, where it just whips your ass, it throws you in bed, and you don't get out for a week. You know, been there, done that. Used to do it, when I was a kid. I remember having the flu at least twice, maybe three times. Now I know as an adult, uh, I had it once as an adult that I can remember, knowing that I had it, but never tested. Now it's like, oh, go test, get the flu. I'm like, oh man, it's whipping my butt. I'm in bed, got a fever, big old fever. I'm shivering, I'm shaking. I've got the flu. No, if it wasn't for the Corona test, I would have swore I had the flu. Maybe I had the flu. Who knows? The Corona test said I didn't. But that was the first time I had it. I called the doctor. Three days later, the nurse calls me back, and I said, "Where the hell have y'all been?" You know, I don't know what the best treatment is. So they called me in some kind of therapeutic. I can't remember what it was. And it was like I took that thing, and a few hours later, I felt like I'd been chewing on an iron rusty pipe. God almighty, the taste in my mouth, just like this is like drinking something out of an old metal straw or something. It tasted terrible. And that was one of the side effects. But you know what? It took out the fever, helped me rest. But by golly, you take that horse pill, and an hour or so later, it just felt like you were chewing nails. It tasted so bad. But wife never got it. Didn't get it. We were fine. So this time, no, the first time she had it, she didn't have a fever. She lost her sense of taste and smell. Is the only reason she got tested. But she continued to work from home even though she tested positive. And so, you know, this time she started out with runny nose. This has been only 14 days ago. Why do I know? Because incubation period a couple of weeks ago. Runny nose, sneezy, that kind of stuff. So she got up Sunday a couple of weeks ago and tested, and sure enough, she was positive. So we did the same thing, wiped everything down, did all this kind of stuff. But she didn't have, she felt really bad, and she ran a little bit of a fever. Not like super high, not like the 101 that I had, but like 99, almost 100. And she felt like crap. Sat on the couch, took naps, did all that. So I thought I was in the clear. Then I started, feeling that same old, like, man, change of the seasons. My nose is kind of stopped up. No fever, nothing like that. And she, I started sneezing. She goes, "I bet you've got it." And I said, "Get out of here. I don't have a fever. Every time I get sick, I get a fever. If I don't get a fever, I'm not sick." So she goes, "I bet you've got it." So Saturday, I said, "I'm going to test because I was feeling kind of bad. My nose is all stopped up. It's running. It's stopped up. My eyes are watered. Just like a cold, right? Everything you see on these, like, ooh, I'm going to blow my nose. I'm taking medicine. My eyes are watering, severe cold medicine." Took one of them home tests. Said, "Hey, bud, you got the corona." I would like to take, if I could time travel again, and I know I've had a show on that, But I just came up with this idea because of this test. I'd like to put one of those things in my pocket. Go back before anybody had ever heard of Corona, and then give it to my back self and say, next time to change the seasons and you start sneezing, because I remember you get in the shower and I would have sneezing fits because of the moisture would get up in my head and it would just cause me to sneeze. I bet you I'd sneeze 6, 7, 8 times before I'd get out of the shower. That's how bad. I used to have allergies pretty bad, and I was on a prescription nasal spray for the longest time, and it whipped their ass. I haven't had allergies in a long, long time, but I'd always get this kind of feeling during the change of the season. Not real bad, but same kind of deal. Nose is all stuffy. My eyes are itchy and watery. That kind of stuff. I'd like to go back, give it to myself, and say, the next time you feel like your nose is all stopped up, your eyes are itchy and watery, you start sneezing, stick this thing up in your nose and roll it around. Follow the instructions, stick it in there, and see what happens. Would it come back positive? Back before we even knew what a coronavirus was? Would it? I'm starting to wonder. I'm starting to wonder if it would. Because the COVID virus it's a cold virus, as I understand it. So are these tests now sensitive enough to where a common cold, what people used to consider a common cold that would last a week to 10 days, is it now giving you a positive for corona? I don't know. I don't know what the thresholds are. But I don't have a fever. Of course, called the boss man, said, hey, this is what's going on. He said, well, don't come to work. I said, okay, won't do it. But now, I'm tired. My eyes are watery, kind of itchy. You get that feeling when you want to rub them. My nose is stopped up. So I had the wife get me, or when was it? Anyway, we had Sudafed, which is a nasal decongestant. So I took it for a couple of days to help, so I could sleep, break it up. So I took one last night before I went to bed, about 10 o'clock, and I haven't had one all day. And it hasn't been bad. I mean, my nose is kind of stopped up, but I took a couple of ibuprofen throughout the day just to help, you know what I mean? That seems to help just as much as the Sudafed does. And no problems. So, but, I go to bed, I sleep pretty heavy. I can tell my body's tired, but I haven't been like sitting on the couch just zombied out in front of the TV watching reruns of MASH or whatever it was I looked at last time. I think last time I got on YouTube and watched stuff on Nikola Tesla, watched some stuff on a windmill kind of deal. These these people robbed the government. Imagine that. Got government grants to test an airborne windmill. And basically, Clell, you like this, it was a kite or a wing. They built basically a glider with propellers on a tether. So it would launch off a tower. They used the propellers to get it up into the air. It was a huge wing. Once they got it up into the air, they turned off the propeller engines and they become the power producers because once they got it up into the air, into the wind, they put it on a tower. It's a swivel base, just like a kite. with a big old cable. The propellers then generated electricity and ran down the cable into the tower. And they robbed the government. And the reason I say they robbed the government is because they kept getting these government grants to build it bigger, to build it better. They tested it in the desert. They tested it in Hawaii. They tested it offshore. They kept feeding it money, kept feeding it money. And it turned out to be a bust. It just turned out to be not anything that was worthy of use. Well, ain't that something? And that's what I did. I watched all of YouTube, tried to learn some stuff. But anyway, just basically vegged out in front of the TV. And I haven't done that this time because I haven't felt like it. You know, my nose has stopped up. I put, sounds like a Howard Hughes scheme. Did he have the government pay for the goose or whatever that thing was? Did he help? Uh, was that partially government funded, or did he fund all that flying goose thing? But it was an interesting concept. Uh, you have, if I could find it, I'd send you the link or something. But it was really interesting to watch them do. And it started out with like two dudes and a videographer coming up with this idea. And you know, they beat the bushes, had private funding, did all that kind of stuff, wrote the grants, got government funding, built it bigger and better, brought on more people, high tech, you know, carbon fiber stuff, props, spinny whirly gigs, the big wing, all that kind of stuff. Millions of government dollars by today's standards, yeah. But these actually flew. I mean, it did do some promising things, but I can't remember what it was. It was, you know, like I said, it was on a tether. And so it was supposed to be able to do one of those deals where if the wind shifted, you know, it could shift positions like a kite, and then the base would spin and keep it always into the wind. And so, you know, it was supposed to be this grand thing. And then they put it offshore, and it would just into the ocean. And so it's supposed to be all computerized control and this kind of stuff. But this time with the Ca-Rona, I mean, I've been working on my barn. You know, I'll go to bed after this, sleep as long as I can. Spruce goose, that's it. There are 23 million in today's money. That's equivalent to more than 280 million, 278 million. Did say, well, you wouldn't be able to tell that right now, but how much of that was U.S. government funded. But you know, that's everything they try to do offshore. Just doesn't work. Doesn't seem like. You see these windmills. What they were doing with the one of the things they were doing was that the wing, call it a flying wing, wasn't on a tower that was sunk into the sea floor. It was on a counterweighted buoy system. So they had a buoy with a long, I think, as I recall, like a deep counterbalance. So, you know, let's say there was 50 feet above water where they put the wing. And during hurricanes, they were supposed to reel it back in. It was supposed to be computerized control, and it would come back in, and the winch would bring it back down, and it would lock it into place on the tower. That was one of the things they were working on. But let's say it's 50 feet out of the water. Well, there's 100 feet of ballast underneath, so that, you know, as the wing pulled against the buoy, it just didn't flip it over and drag it around through the ocean. There was a balance in there. But anyway, didn't work. Didn't work. And, you know, there's windmill farms up in Indiana, right outside Kentucky, SIU, Southern Illinois. In Illinois, they have windmill farms, and they pay these farmers to put these on there. But the deal is, they put these windmills up there, and they give them subsidies for their land and everything like that, but they never repair them. And so what happens is they break down, and then let's say the farmer gets paid so much a month to put them up there, and then they break down, and then they never come and fix them. And so the farmer, you know, is out his money because they stopped paying him. And now he's got this big thing on his property that's huge. These things are huge. And they won't take them down. It's like, you deal with it. And whatever money, it's almost like whatever money he earned from having these windmills on his property, now he has to spend to get it tore down. Because it's, you know, it's sitting out there not doing anything but taking up space anymore. And it's just a gimmick, dude. It's just a gimmick. So, I haven't learned anything this time with Corona, except I didn't have a fever, and the test says I'm positive. Even though I feel like I just have a sinus cold, a head cold. You know, the colds used to come in different flavors. You had a head cold, sinuses, headache, nose. Had a chest cold, cough, kind of achy, feverish. You know, what's feverish? And they still make severe cold medicine, right? I've seen it. Severe cold medicine, you know, Theraflu, all that kind of stuff. Anywho, this strain of the virus might be weaker. Could be. Could be that I've got a cold that tripped off the virus detection system in those take-home tests. I don't know. Better safe than sorry, though. So I'm staying home. I'm doing the right thing. You know, chilling out, taking up my sick time, which I need some sick time. Everybody needs a little sick time. But the funny thing is, who's keeping up with the strains? I mean, do I have like strain 7A? Because this time, the wifey poo, she ran a little fever. She felt bad. She sat on the couch and she took naps. She never takes naps, right? She felt weak. She felt bad. She didn't feel like doing her normal stuff. You know, she could have worked from home, but she didn't feel like it. The days that she did, it wasn't very long, I don't think. I had to have caught it from her. You would think, right? We're in the same household, but it hadn't affected me like it did her. And then the one time she had it, I didn't catch it. The first time I had it, she didn't catch it. But the first time I had it, it whipped my butt. I felt bad. It was like, man, if I swore I had the flu, because I had fevers, felt bad, those kind of, ooh, I don't want to do nothing. I just want to sleep. Right? I don't know. Anywho, that's why this is the COVID show. I'm confessing all my COVID ailments, my history. So maybe this strain isn't as bad. Maybe I have a different strain than her. Maybe she has a different immune system than me. You know, I don't know. But we'll get over it. Go on. Wait till the next time. But it does seem like I said, it was this time. I was trying to think. I think it was probably this time pretty close to it. Been a couple of months of when I had it the first time. But anyway, 35 minutes. Is that what we've been talking about, this nasty stuff? Yep, about that, looks like. Well, my barn's coming along. Getting some things. I know I don't want to try to go into installing wood stove chimneys in metal buildings for a living, because it took it's taken me 2 days to build the framework to put the chimney through the roof. So, just as a side note, wood burning stove, going through combustible material, and the reason to say that is because it's a metal roof, true, but it's, wood framing. So when you put the stovepipe through there, a double wall stovepipe, you have to brace it because my rafters are like, well, they actually run not up the ceiling, they run parallel to the pitch. And so they're wood. Barn build episode coming. Maybe. So I had the frame where the chimney pipe would go up through the sheet metal roof. So, to vent it all to the outside. Has to be sturdy, so I made that out of wood. Well, it's a flammable material. So in the double wall pipe, you have to have 2-inch clearance on both sides. So internally, the double wall is 6. There's fiberglass insulation and a stainless steel sleeve that makes it about 8¼ inches or 8 1/8 inch round. So 2 inches on each side, that's 4 8 12. So I had to build a 12 by 12 box that fit in my rafters, which are 24-inch on centers. All sounds like good carpentry work. If I only had a good carpenter. Not this guy. Not this guy. And I tell you why. Because I'm using extension ladders inside the barn because the roof's so tall, and you have to extend them, lean them up against, the rafters, and climb up them. I've gotten, not so squeamish about climbing extension ladders lately. So, no, I can't cut a straight line. I'll tell you what I did. So I was working closer to the wall, and these things are supposed to be 24-inch on center. So I measured them, right? I measured them close to the wall because I had a shorter extension ladder that wouldn't reach up where actually I'm going to penetrate the roof. It reached up to the side a little bit, and it's lighter. It's easier to work with. So I measured them, got it out, and I thought I'm going to build the box, okay? And it's, kind of like a double H deal. I'm going to build the box, and I'll take it up there with my big extension ladder, and I will slide it up in there and screw it in. Well, what happens? I measured them, I built it, I made the 12 by 12 box, I made it long enough to fit in between the ones that I'd measured, get my big extension ladder up. I take forever to set it up because, you're cranking it up, you lean it over, you crank it up, lean it over, move it around, test it, all that kind of junk. I get up there with my box, I got my drill, I got my stuff, man, I'm climbing ladders all by myself. I get up in there, I lift it up and it's a damn ½ inch too short. Why? Because the roof rafters, purlins, whatever they call them, they were bowed. They were bowed. Right where I was trying to put it, you can see the one. When you start looking at it, right? When you start looking at it, you think, that one's not straight. So it just comes off and just enough. So then I start, well, what am I going to do? So I start piecemealing together. I use a hammer. I do all this stuff. And I half-ass it in there. It looks like crap. It looks like dookie poo. Took me all day yesterday to do that. I'm so mad. Today, what I do, I couldn't stand it. Jerked it all out, tore it all down, busted it apart. I actually measured where I was going to put it this time. Built a brand new one. Got it up in there. Had to wrestle with it. Had to fight it. Make sure it was centered. Do all that kind of stuff. Finally got it in there. Finally got it in there. 2 days. 2 days. I'd like to blame it on coronavirus. The brain fog. Oh, the brain fog is terrible. No, I'm just not a carpenter, man. Not a carpenter. So, it's in there. Now, a guy's supposed to come put my doors in, and I'm going to try to con him in. He said he would cut my hole for me. And I've got a boot. I'm hoping I can con him into cutting the hole, shinnying up on the roof, because that's part I'm not really. Inside, you tilt the ladders up on the rafters. You're working on the inside, you climb the ladder. You go to the outside where you have to put the boot on and glue it down and zip it to the roof. Put pipe through it. That's all on slick steel, slick metal roof. That's not where I'm at. Now, it's only a 412 pitch, but still, I'm not real keen climbing up on that roof, sliding down, climbing up, sliding back. Measure twice, cut once or twice, tear it out, start all over. Well, I measured. That was my problem. I fully admit it. I had my little ladder up, been doing some other things, working on it with the little ladder. And it's so easy. And they're supposed to be all the same. They looked all the same, right? When I wasn't really paying attention. So I measured it. It fit perfect where I measured it, because that's where I measured it. You move it up 2 places where I was actually going to put it, because I had to get the big extension, my 24-foot extension ladder out to get up to there. And they were the things were bowed. They weren't straight. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't. It wasn't my fault. It was the wood's fault. Daggone you. It was the wood's fault. Anyway, it's in there now. Now I've got to cut through the insulation and mark the center, because you can put your nail in the center, take a string, do it out. I don't know how he may want to try to cut the hole, if he's going to cut it for me. If he doesn't decide to cut it for me, I'll figure out something. I'll get up there with a rope, tie it on the one side of the barn, sling it across, and just tie my waist off so I don't slide off the barn roof. But it's only a 412 pitch, right? What could go wrong? It's only a 412 pitch, and the walls are only 14 foot high. So you'd only be, what, 14 feet off the ground? All right, one more story about that, and I'm going to get off here. So, when I was a teenager, we lived in a 2-story house, and I had to clean the gutters out. Okay, so it wasn't, I don't think, yeah, just 14, that's all. So this was a 2-story house, didn't have a basement, had a crawl space under it. So it was a legit 2-story house, and it was just a box. So it was, what I mean, it wasn't like a A-frame, half walls. It was straight up 2 stories and with a roof on it. So I cleaned the gutters out, lived in the forest, lived in the woods. And I don't know if it's the same ladder that I've got now. It very well may be the same extension ladder that I have now that we had when I was a teenager. I've still got the rototiller that I used to rototill the garden that we had when I was a teenager. Let's just say it's the same ladder. So it's a 24-foot extension ladder. made of aluminum, but it's still pretty hefty. Anyway, when I was young, and I can't remember, 13, 14, pulled that thing up, got up, I climbed up on top of the roof and was cleaning the gutters out. So I'm cleaning out, cleaning the front out, cleaning the back out, and leaves are standing anyway, and I can't remember what time of the year it was. So just picture the house, just a square, rectangle, not a square, but a rectangle, right? Big part of the house in the middle. On one end was a screened-in porch, so it had its own roof. On the other end was the two-car garage, and it had its own roof. So there were only single stories. So big two-story roof, single stories on each end. One was porch, one was garage, and then the ground. Simple, very, very basic house. I'm cleaning them out, and daggone, if I don't hit a daggone bee's nest in the gutter, yellow jackets, wasps, hornets, buddy, I don't know what they were, but they got me. And I hate bees. They hurt. They hurt bad. What did I do? You know what I did? I ran down the roof. I jumped from the second story roof to the porch. Did a tumble roll, jumped off the porch and hit the ground. Did a tumble roll and ran in the house. No lie. No lie. I ran off. I jumped down onto that porch roof, rolled I don't know how, just enough to jump off that roof onto the ground, rolled again, and ran into the house. I was more afraid of those bees because I knew they were after me. There was no way I could stop and shinny down that ladder, right? And it's 20 feet in the air. It has to be, 8 foot for the first floor with a certain amount of flooring over that, and then 8 foot to the next floor, and then your attic space. You're up there 20 feet. So I took it in steps, 20 to 10, from 10 to the ground. Not a problem. Didn't get hurt. I think I got stung a couple of times. But, yeah. So, but now I'm old, and I'm not interested in climbing up. Yeah, fear, adrenaline. Yeah, great motivation. Yes, sir. So I'm not interested in falling, jumping, doing whatever 14 feet. I can't take it. I already got a torn meniscus. I don't need any more problems. Anyway, that's my Ca-Rona story, and I'm sticking to it. So this time next week, well, Thursday, we'll see how I'm feeling. This time next week, I'll be coming home from work doing this. I don't know. Which is it? Would you rather have Ca-Rona and stay home from work? Maybe, if it was all like this, might not be too bad. A little sniffy, snuffly. I don't know. I put Vicks Vapor Rub in the mustache. That helps alleviate some of it. Hot showers, Vicks Vapor Rub, go to bed. You're good. All right, Cleo, thank you. Appreciate you stopping by, hearing out my woes. If you're just tuning in, then you might be watching it on YouTube. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, have them like, subscribe, leave me a comment, and check out the podcast. I listen to my own podcast because it gives me some points on Spotify. So I listened to 2 of my podcasts today that I put out there. So, yeah, I'll feel better. I need somebody to come cut a hole in, put that chimney up through there, and help me finish up my wood-burning stove. Even though there's no stupid garage doors in there, even if I had a wood-burning stove, it'd be too windy to even make it warm in there. Then after that, I got to run electricity, bury the cable, pull it through the conduit, all kinds of stuff going on. So anyway, thanks, and come back on Thursday. We'll see what's going on then. Bye, everybody. Have a good evening.